All right, good Thursday afternoon, everyone. Thanks for stopping by for a check of your forecast. This is going to be a little longer of a live stream this afternoon just because we've got some more active weather working its way through the region. We do actually have a marginal risk today for maybe a severe storm here in the South Texas Panhandle. It's going to be a low end threat kind of day, but something you can't rule out completely. It actually looks like our biggest concern will probably be either some gusty winds near 60 miles per hour or a brief spin up of maybe a quick landspout or a tornado with some of these storms. You can see that we're looking at Randall County right now. I'm going to go ahead and stop this time lapse. That latest scan, I want to circle this here. This is kind of what we're watching. You can see there's a big RFD cut sending this little hook out here just to the west northwest of Happy. So this is just a really good sign that there is some spin in the atmosphere. And this is spinning counterclockwise, which would be cyclonic circulation within this storm system. There's also a fairly weak area of an RFD cut right in here. So this is what we call a QLCS, mesocyclone, just a little bit of some spin. It's not very strong. I'll go back probably one scan just to show you. So you can see there's a very well-defined area of circulation there and another one right in here. It's not strong, but there is some circulation there. And our dew point depression really not that high today. Our temperatures are in the low 60s, dew points in the lower 50s. And so I'm not going to rule out maybe a quick tornado or two today, especially in the southeast side of the Texas Panhandle. So that'll, I think, be the thing to watch out for the most part. But we're also just dealing with some brief heavy downpours with these storms as they come through. I'm going to go ahead and put this on a 45-minute time lapse. You can see that we're about to start seeing some rain and storm activity here in the Amarillo area. We're not going to get missed by this one. Some of us did earlier this morning. And you can see there is some convection associated with some of these storms as well. A lot of cloud to ground lightning in these storms. Have seen a few of those strikes from our Bushland camera. Dimmets on the backside of it. So again, all we can see kind of is just light rain right now. But as these storms continue to push to the northeast, they will probably continue to grow in intensity. And so we may start getting to the points where these storms, while they are below severe limits now, may not necessarily be the case by the time we get to 5 and 6 p.m. But you can see there's a pretty good hail core that's being picked up on radar right now, right there just south of Bushland and Umbarger. So there's Umbarger and Canyon. You can see we've got some really high reflectivity there in like a small section of this line of storms. Go ahead and circle it. So there's probably some small hail up to the size of nickels and pennies south of 60 there. This is going to be coming up towards Canyon. Don't be shocked if you see some hail mixed in with some of the rain as this comes through. Also watching again this very small little hook right here, and we've got this small hook here. If we do get a tornado today, it's going to be a very, very brief one. These are not going to be very strong. Sorry, reading some messages from our storm chasers. Blake Brown's out there today, seeing if he can't catch maybe a quick spin up or two. Sounds like Kyle Davies will be out later this evening. But nothing yet from our chasers. Blake's down south of Canyon right now. He's kind of watching these two areas of spin, which appear to be the strongest little couplets that we have on this line of storms. There's another one right in here between Silverton and Tulia, right there around Kittiquay. That'll be another one to keep an eye on. You can see there's definitely a well-defined kind of hook in that line. If we take a look at storm relative velocities, there's definitely some spin right in here. There were a couple of posts out about some dust ahead of this thing as well. It's not shocking. I mean, we haven't had much rain in the last 6 weeks, so things are very dry out there. These storms are at least putting down some 50 to 55 mile per hour winds. And so not shocked to see some dust, or maybe what you would call a haboob. It's just that thunderstorm driven dust storm as these push across our area. It'll be another thing to watch out for. You may run into some very limited visibility for a short period of time as these storms roll through. Probably going to muddy up your car a bit as that rain starts to wash all of that dust and dirt out of the air. But hey, we'll take it any way we can get it in that moisture anyway. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at storm relative velocities again. So it looks like there's some minor spin just north of Tulia. There's, again, the notable spin. There's a pretty good little couplet right there between Tulia and Silverton. That one's moving to the north and east, so if you're up towards Wayside, that'll be one to watch. It should be there in the next 15-20 minutes. These storms are moving pretty fast, around 50 miles an hour. So they're not slow moving. I don't think we'll have a flood threat per se for today, but we are going to be dealing with some brief heavy rainfall. You could see some rain rates as high as maybe 1 inch per hour. It's not going to rain that long. I mean, I would only expect probably a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch of rain out of some of these storms as they move through. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of those rain totals. Hereford picked up a little over a 1/2 inch of rain today. Friona, you guys are actually getting really close to an inch of rainfall. So you guys are doing pretty good so far. Vega at about a 1/2 inch of rain. Boys Ranch at about 2/3 of an inch. Excuse me, got to turn that element off. But looks like we're starting to see some showers and storms roll into the west-northwest side of Amarillo. These are sub-severe, but there is some cloud-to-ground lightning, so you probably don't need to be outside when these roll through. You will see some gusty winds with them. Wind gusts have been up to around 50 miles per hour. So again, right below severe limits. Another thing that we'll watch is maybe for some quick spin ups. You can see there's kind of this wavy look to the front leading edge of this line of storms. And this is just a good indicator that there's probably a little bit of some spin in some of these storms. Maybe not a strong area of circulation, but it's circulation. And the way that the wind shear looks today, we can't rule out maybe a quick tornado or two. But there is a couple of waves in here in Randall County that we'll have to watch and monitor. One of our storm chasers is down there watching this area of the storms for right now. Blake says he can certainly see some of the clouds spinning. There's nothing underneath them right now. But that just confirms that these little waves that we see here, there is some rotation in this line of strong storms. They are sub-severe. If we do get a tornado, it's going to be a very quick one probably. It won't be a very strong one. These normally don't last more than a few minutes in these big QLCS type events where you have this just linear line of convection. But we may have to look from Lubbock's radar. It's not as good. Getting pretty close to where there's a lot of contamination down here in your relative velocities. We're really close to the radar. But still some spin down there northeast of Tulia. If we jump back over to reflectivity, that's right kind of in here in this core of this stronger storm. So here's what it looked like in Bushland right now. Go ahead and turn this cam a little bit. So we cannot see Amarillo. There's that line of stronger storms between us and the camera. You will see some brief heavy downpours. Rain rates could be as high as an inch per hour, but it won't rain for more than 15 or 20 minutes as these move across. They're moving very fast at about 50 miles per hour. So a 1/4 to a 1/2 inch of rain certainly possible. We may get some minor nuisance issue flooding in those poor drainage areas here in town as these storms roll through, but it's not going to persist for a long time. These are going to be very quick systems, quick storms moving through. So definitely looks like there's maybe a small wall cloud south of Canyon right now. Trying to confirm which kink Blake is looking at. He's either looking at this one right here or he's looking at this one down here. I think he's looking at this one heading in towards Canyon. There's kind of a really high base rotating wall cloud there. So canyon, again, there are a couple of kinks in this thing. You may need to keep an eye on it. I would encourage you to stay inside as these storms roll through. Not only for the fact that there could be a brief spin up with these storms, but you also have got a lot of cloud to ground lightning too. So you don't need to be out there watching these storms outside. Just make sure you get indoors. I would stay away from the windows on the exterior side of the home. The kink doesn't look as impressive in that latest scan coming into radar right now, but still there. Storm relative velocities, again, it's really hard to make out, but there's probably some minor rotation within these storms, kind of right in here. And this stuff's moving to the northeast. So once it moves through Canyon, Paladora Canyon State Park, Lake Tanglewood, some of those little kinks will be watching for you guys. Getting a pretty good downpour over in Bishop Hills right now, it looks like, on radar. Let's go ahead and take a look at the whole DMA. I'm going to put this into a 30-minute time lapse just so you can see where these storms are headed. Moving in a north and east direction. This could be our last line of storms, I think, for today. If we're going to have severe weather, it'll likely be involving this line of storms that we see moving across Randall, Swisher, and moving into Briscoe County right now. This is the strongest activity that we've got right now. We'll continue to watch and monitor for stuff further to the south and west. Maybe another round late tonight. Looks like there's some additional development down there, so we'll see. We're likely going to see some rain out of this one real quick here in Amarillo. I don't know if we'll be guaranteed that rain later tonight. So it does look like that stuff's going to start to become more scattered in nature rather than just a big complete line of storms. Let's see what the National Weather Service is saying. Clouds are very low to the ground. Again, the dew point depression today is not very high. This line of storms should be coming through Canyon here in the next 5 minutes. Looks like it's already raining on southwest side of Canyon. Again, there's some small kinks in here. Hopefully we don't get any kind of brief spin up as this comes over town. But those kinks that we were talking about earlier, this is just a sign that there is some rotation in the storms. So you can see there's kind of this wavy action here. It's not a bowed out look, especially right in here. You've got this little kink right here, and you've got a bigger kink right here. It's just a sign that there is some rotation inside the storms. If we have any kind of severe weather concern for today, it would likely be hail near the size of quarters, 60-mile-per-hour winds, and or a brief spin up. Looks like there could be a couple of cold air funnels in there too. On a side note, it is snowing in Red River, New Mexico. It's not technically in our viewing area, but we do have access to some of those cameras out there, and it does look like there's a nice little moderate to heavy snow. It doesn't look like it's stuck on the roads out there, but The grass is now covered. It looks like that's their first official snow of the year. It'll help out the ski areas out there. Canyon, you guys are starting to see some of the worst of this rain come through. Would not be shocked if there is some small hail involved with this. Again, it's a strong storm, but it's not a severe one. The National Weather Service went ahead and put out a special weather statement for it, just indicating that you could certainly see some winds gusting to around 50 miles an hour, probably some pea-sized hail. Looks like it's coming across Main Street at the moment. West half of Canyon seeing some very heavy rainfall. West Texas A&M is going to start seeing some of that heavy rain here momentarily in the next minute or two. Once this storm passes through Canyon, it's going to head its way towards Lake Tanglewood and Timberwood Creek. The western half of Amarillo, mainly west of I-27, starting to see some of these stronger downpours right now. This is looking at some of that heavier rainfall. This is from Bushland. We are looking to the east. So it looks like maybe a pretty good shower or downpour between Chunky and the North Loop. Probably a couple of lightning strikes in that stuff as well. Let's see what the lightning mapping array's got for us for today. Definitely a lot of static discharges down in Randall County. Not a whole lot in Potter County. There's some kind of warm front passing from south to north right now. It appears like that warm front is currently draped from about Shamrock all the way down towards Lake Tanglewood. And again, this warm front is tracking to the north. It's very slowly moving, but it is moving that direction. And you can tell that there's, again, a lot more instability because there's more, activity in regards to the lightning down in Randall and Swisher County compared to Potter County. But some very marginal instability up here. There's a couple of static sources detected. There's a really good source of static discharges over Canyon right now. There's about 200,000 sources within about 50 miles of Amarillo. So definitely an active storm, active line of storm south of the Yellow City. As you go north, we run out of instability, and that's why we don't see any of these producing much lightning up here, just general shower activity. Let's go ahead and run through the forecast for you guys. So this is again Bushland. You can see that the rain's still falling between us or between them and the West Loop. We are watching these storms probably going to push through the area just slowly throughout the day today. If we have any severe weather, this is the line of storms that we'll be monitoring, and maybe another round out here coming into eastern New Mexico to watch for later this evening. This could potentially be our last round of storms for some of us. So hopefully we get a good round of rain out of it. If we don't be dismayed. We do have another chance that we'll have to talk about coming up on Sunday as well. But here's some of those rain totals so far. It really looks like the West Panhandle has been the one to benefit. Half-inch of rain so far in Vega. Hereford, the site down at the airport, the regional airport, picked up 3/10 of an inch of rain. The West Texas Mesonet actually has seen about 2/3 of an inch of rain there in Hereford. You've had about 4/10 in Clovis, just under 1/10 of an inch of precipitation there in Tucumcari, a little over 1/4 inch in Portales at the regional airport down there, and then about 1/4 inch or so in Perryton. Looks like that gauge not working properly in Canadian, but you can see again a good little swath of rain there from McLean and Groom over to Shamrock, and then all the way over here in the western Panhandle. We've got that line of storms coming across though, which will help fill some of this stuff in from from Silverton up to Amarillo and Borger, and then Clarendon, Shamrock, Pampa. All of these areas are going to start seeing some of those numbers change as that line of strong convection moves through. So here's the outlook from a severe weather perspective. You can see we are technically in the marginal risk here in Amarillo, which I think is a fair assessment. It's not impossible for us to get a tornado today. If we do see one, it's going to be very quick, very brief, and likely very weak, but still we can't rule it out. Quarter size hail possible, and 60-mile-per-hour winds also possible. With how fast the storms are moving, I don't think we'll have much of a flood concern. If it happens, it would be more of that nuisance flooding in some of the low-lying areas that just don't drain properly, or don't drain as fast as they probably need to. And that'll be in your urban areas. So this is 3 p.m. Model not doing a grand job of that line of storms right now. It does have some additional stuff coming out of New Mexico tonight, so that may be another round to watch before the sun goes down or right after the sun goes down. And then moving into tomorrow, this cold front is going to start to seep across the area. It's going to keep us in the 50s and 60s. We might even stay in the 40s up towards the Oklahoma Panhandle. Cloud cover may be a problem up there. That's going to keep us very chilly. It's going to feel a lot more like winter. As you get further south, though, there's going to be this pretty high gradient in temperatures. So very chilly up here, cool but not unbearable down towards Childress and Paducah in the afternoon. And then a lot of low clouds, probably some patchy fog as well on Saturday morning, maybe some freezing fog. You can see these temperatures starting to get close to the freezing point. It might be something to think about if you do plan on traveling early on Saturday. You may have to, just run the defroster on the vehicle for a little bit before you head out the driveway. It is going to be a little bit colder on Saturday. 50s and low 60s, I think, will be about as warm as it's going to get. But we do get that quiet period between Thursday night and Saturday night where we kind of get this lull in activity. But you can see out here, starting to see some snow up in the San Juans and then down towards Taos. You can start seeing some of this rain and snow mix, and that's out ahead of our next weather maker, which is another cutoff low, likely taking a similar track to the one that we have today. And so we can probably expect similar conditions with this second system. So snow will only stay confined to the higher terrain elevations like the Sangre de Cristo mountain range. Red River will probably see some additional snowfall, maybe another 2 to 6 inches of snow out of that one. There have been a couple of high resolution models saying that perhaps maybe the peak of the Sierra Grande peak over in Union County and maybe the top of Capulan Volcano may see some light snowfall on Sunday into Monday. But the rest of Union County, I think, might be too low in elevation to see any of this stuff transition over to wintry weather. It will just be probably a very cold rain, like upper 30s, low 40s. So I wouldn't expect you to have any snow in Des Moines or in Grenville or in Clayton. It's just going to be a cold rainfall. But areas up there on those peaks might see a little bit of some wintry weather. So if you want to go hike up to the top of the Sierra Grande, or maybe go take a picture of it Sunday afternoon after this system moves through, by all means, be my guest. That system's going to move on to the northeast. By Monday, you can see we've got another big low, and this one's got a lot of colder air packed in with it. And this one's going to start to be absorbed. These two are going to kind of congeal into one big trough. And we're going to eventually get a big trough to progress to the eastern half of the country as we move towards Thanksgiving. And so we're loading this up for a pretty good shot of cold air right out ahead of Thanksgiving Day. So Wednesday looks like it might be a pretty cold day here next week in the high plains. So as far as rainfall goes with the second system, I don't know if it's going to be much different than what we have today. There will probably be a few of us that get a ½ inch to an inch of rain. There's going to be a few of us that probably only pick up 1/10 or 2/10 of an inch of rain. But as of right now, areas that we think are best favored for the more meaningful amounts will be further north and east. So that eastern column of counties from Cottle north towards Beaver County and then extending west through the Oklahoma Panhandle towards Union County is likely where you're going to start seeing some of these better totals, 3/4 or 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch of rainfall being a little bit more common. Here in Amarillo, we're going to give you a 30% chance for a ½ inch of rain. So whatever we get today on top of that, say we get 4/10 of an inch today, another 2 or 3/10 on over the weekend, 2/3 of an inch over a 4-day span is not that bad, especially for November standards. So even though we maybe didn't get a full inch of rainfall, it's not the end of the world. Looks like the Weather Prediction Center stuff has changed. So there we go. Looks like that stuff updated here within the last 20 minutes. So I have to change the title on this too. This is the next 5 days. So this is all the rain for today, tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Again, a lot of this is going to be tonight and Sunday night. You are going to have those drier periods as well. But you can kind of see this dry slot sort of filling in here on the color contours from the Weather Prediction Center. They've got, a tenth to a half inch of rain down here towards Plainview and Lubbock, and then probably a quarter inch to, a half inch being more common here in the northern half of the panhandles and the eastern half of the panhandles, which you can see kind of reflects what we have on our map too. They might be a little bit more optimistic about those heftier amounts than we are. But again, kind of a similar structure and a similar look to it. I do want to show you this stuff too before we jump back over to the radar. Sorry, Blake's messaging us. Definitely some minor rotation in some of these storms. It's hard to make out if this is on the ground or not. Yeah, he's on that one that's headed up towards Timberwood Creek and Lake Tanglewood. We'll jump back to that here in a moment. So the temperature outlook for late November into early December, that cold shot of air likely going to displace a lot of cooler air south. We'll probably be in some of that colder air here in the panhandles as well. As we move into that outlook too, the Climate Prediction Center is starting to grow a bit more confident that maybe some precipitation might be on deck for us as well. So that'll be something to watch as we move into December. It's certainly not a guarantee that we see winter weather, but I think it might be something to monitor. So I'm going to go ahead and show you some of the ensembles real quick. So this is the European ensemble. You can see all the rain that we're seeing for today. Every single model run has us with some precipitation here in Amarillo at the airport. So again, that's why we have that 100% chance of rain. Every single model is outputting some precipitation, whether it's just a couple hundredths of an inch or a half inch. That's what they are showing. You can see a lot of this in that kind of a tenth to 3/10 of an inch, though, as we kind of get through the next 12 hours or so. There's that second system on Sunday into Monday that we will be keeping an eye on. There's a few outlier runs out here that don't show any precipitation, but you can tell there's a pretty good consensus that we will probably have some more rain on Sunday based off of what this model's spitting out. And then as you look out here towards like December 2nd, December 3rd, the signal not as strong. You can certainly see there's some drier model runs sprinkled in here. Timing of this stuff is kind of way off. Some of it comes through on the 1st, some of it's on the 2nd, maybe on the 3rd. Man, Model 50, that ensemble would be really nice to have that one come through. But that colder air, it might be something to watch for maybe our first taste of winter weather. I don't think it's going to happen before Thanksgiving at this point, but maybe moving into the first week of December, it could be a bit colder, and that could certainly lead to maybe our first chance of snowfall here in the Texas Panhandle. This is the American Ensemble. It's got a 100% chance of rain on Sunday, so it's a bit more boastful about that precipitation with the second system. Again, a lot of disagreement out here as you get way out in advance, but there is a signal here. It's just not strong, and it's kind of giving you some mixed signals as well as far as timing and amounts are concerned. So this is why we talk in general terms. When we get past that 7-day outlook, things become a lot blurrier. It's harder to tell exactly what's going to happen, but you can see there is some winter weather maybe mixed in with some of that stuff too, heading into that first week of December. And then the Canadian ensemble, definitely not a very good consensus on timing. Some of it's coming through next weekend, right after Thanksgiving. Some of it's on the 2nd and the 3rd, but not a very good idea as far as the timing and evolution. Not all of those models are spitting out snow, but some of them are, and so it will just be something to watch. as we get closer. So I'm going to show you the 7-day. We're going to jump back over to the radar because, again, these storms are starting to move through Amarillo, and it looks like they did just come through Canyon as well. We've stuck with the 70% chance of rain on Sunday for now. It is going to be kind of a colder day, 54 for that high temperature, feeling a lot more like it should in November and December. Through the first half of the month, I mean, the first 16, 17 days, we were pacing like just shy of the hottest start to November on record. So this change of the weather pattern is a welcome sight. The moisture, loving that. Certainly the cooler weather, maybe some of us not so happy about, but I mean, it is late fall, about to be winter, so it's not supposed to be 80 degrees here in Amarillo. So you hopefully got to enjoy it while it lasted, but definitely would like to see some cooler weather kind of helping wash out some of that hot temperatures that we had in the first half of the month. So here's what that storm system looks like right now. Blake is in Lake Tanglewood watching these storms roll through. It did look like there could maybe have been a brief spin up. It's going to be unconfirmed. But definitely seeing some good lightning activity with this stuff in there and back down in Randall County, in Armstrong County as well. So we did have some hail in Canyon. Looks like it was pea size, so pretty small stuff. So it looks like they actually just issued a severe thunderstorm warning. That's going to be for portions of Potter and Randall County. It's going to include Carson, Armstrong, and Donley County as well. So this is mainly due to 60-mile-an-hour winds and some pocket change size hail. So the wind is what sparked that severe thunderstorm warning 60 seconds ago. So got our first severe thunderstorm warning of the day. They do have a tornado possible tag in there as well. That's just with some of these kinks in this line that you see here. Blake Brown did send us a video. It did look like there could have maybe have been a brief spin up down there in between Canyon and Lake Tanglewood. Definitely some concentrated dust with it. But that severe thunderstorm warning you're looking at there just east of Canyon, this is going to be headed up towards 287 between Clarendon and the east side of Amarillo. That's really where that line of severe storms is headed towards. So Claude's kind of our only town in there outside of Lake Tanglewood, currently seeing probably a lot of small hail. It's going to look like it snowed probably after this comes through. So Blake's on 1151 right now, headed towards Claude. So starting to see some additional showers and storms blow up in the eastern panhandle as well. These are really isolated, but looks like Clarendon probably seeing a pretty good round of storms push through, just southeast of town anyway. Go ahead and put a lapse on this thing. You can see it starting to really fill in out here. So maybe this is where we'll start seeing some of those heftier totals. You get a couple of thunderstorms to push through. You get a quarter-inch here, quarter-inch there, hopefully helping verify that forecast for us from last night. But nice small little mesoscale feature here with this cluster of storms. It's just kind of a linear segment pushing up through Armstrong and Randall County right now. It does clip the airport in Potter County. These storms are moving fast at about 50 miles per hour. So Claude, you guys will be next in line for some of these stronger winds. Some really small kinks in here. So where that potential spin up may have just happened a few minutes ago. Let's stop this real quick. So you can see there's this small kink right in here. And there was a video, I believe this is where Blake Brown was shooting this video of us. It looks like there was maybe some concentrated dust, kind of just very weak circulation. No condensed funnel or anything, but there's definitely some more notable dirt being kicked up that was underneath that small notch in or kink in the line of storms. So maybe a brief spin up down there based off of what we were seeing from Blake Brown. But there could have been maybe a very, very weak spin up, maybe a brief tornado lasted about 60 seconds over here. Clouds are definitely spinning overhead, so I wouldn't be shocked if that maybe was a quick tornado just to the northeast of Canyon around 4 o'clock this afternoon. That was about 15 minutes ago. See what the storm relative velocities looked like. So you can see kind of it was right in here probably. Maybe right in there, south of Timber Creek Canyon. All right, let's get this thing back up to current time and current speed. Looks like there's maybe a small little kink just east of Palo Duro Canyon State Park now. Right in here. That was a terrible circle. Maybe some very small or subtle spin. Looks like it's probably displaced out here. Almost like a gustnado. I mean, well, I mean, I guess you call them tornadoes, but they're going to be very, very quick, and there's probably not going to be much of a condensation funnel associated with them based off of what Blake just sent us. They're going to be very quick too. I mean, they're only going to probably, it's going to be a little quick dust up for 30 to 60 seconds, and then it will probably lift off the ground. But that's what we're dealing with today. Maybe some really brief tornadoes, very weak tornadoes, almost like land spouty kind of strength, 50 to 85 mile per hour wind gusts. Yeah, I mean there could be any kind of really quick spin up along this line of storms. The wind shear, the environmental wind shear is really good today. You can almost make out there's probably a little bit of a bookend vortice up here too near the loop. You can see kind of where some of those higher reflectivity values kind of loop around right in here. There's probably a little bit of some spin there just off of East Loop 335. Looks like a more notable area of spin down just east northeast of the state park. And you can kind of make out where this thing really hooks up to the northeast there south of Claude. So Woodburn Place, you guys are seeing probably a pretty good shower right now. Getting a little bit of some light rain here at the station. Looks like we've got a new warning down here. Let's jump back down towards Lubbock. So this is what that line of storm. I mean, this whole thing kind of extends through here. The radar is just overshooting some of this really shallow layer of that line of storms. It's a complete line. It's not a full. It's not a segment. It's a full linear. It's a full MCS, just a mesoscale convective system, just a QLCS quasi-linear convective system. So it just stretches all the way down, probably all the way past Snyder too. I wouldn't be shocked if this thing extends all the way back down into West Texas. Lots of flood concerns down there in the hill country, Kerrville, and all that stuff down in the Guadalupe River. I know you guys had all the catastrophic flooding there on the 3rd and the 4th of July earlier this summer. Similar amounts of rain kind of expected over the next 24 hours down there, unfortunately. They've already had, some of these areas have already had 4 to 8 inches of rainfall today. All right, let's see what this stuff headed in towards Childress looks like. It's hard to make much of it out, but so nice new severe line of storms down there in the southeast panhandle. You're going to continue the severe thunderstorm warning up here in the central panhandle. That's going to be in effect until 5 p.m. It's moving northeast at 50 miles an hour. These storms are hauling. They are booking it. So we got two severe warnings right now, both of them just associated with this line of storms. Let's see what this stuff looks like from a national composite. I mean, this whole thing, this is a whole linear line of storms here. I would expect this is likely filled in. Probably not as deep of a thunderstorm out here in between Silverton and back towards Turkey, but there are some showers and storms out here too. You can see this thing that connects all the way up towards Amarillo. If we take a look at Amarillo, it extends even further to the north. So finally starting to see some of this rain fill in. It's a little bit delayed from what we kind of expected yesterday. Just nice squall line coming across the southeast panhandle today. I think wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour is going to be kind of your biggest concern, and that's probably about the extent of some of those brief spin ups. That's what they would be capable of too, is about 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. So it's not like it would be a really strong tornado today if it happened, but just the way that the environment is, you can't rule out that quick tornado or two. We potentially had one there in between south of Lake Tanglewood and east northeast of Canyon earlier. Going to be hard to confirm. I have to get back with Blake later this afternoon and see what his thoughts are on it because he was out there. It didn't look like it lasted very long. Um, so storm's starting to fill in across the region. We'll put a 30-minute lapse here so you can see these move. Really seeing this stuff develop pretty recently, and they're just to the west of Pampa. It's kind of a narrower line of storms, but it has developed. Expect some of that stuff to move through in the next 10 minutes. Clarendon, a lot of this stuff that's missing you right now, it's going to pass to your northeast, but you've got an additional line of storms that are severe that are starting to push to the northeast as well. These storms are moving at 50 miles per hour. So it seems that that warm front's starting to push north a bit as some of this convection starts to become more pronounced just north of I-40. There's a warm front. This is basically just where you're starting to see that southeast sector of the upper level low. It's where you get a lot of that moisture advection and just that plume of moisture humps from south to north. And as we continue to pull in more moisture, we bring in more instability. And we start bringing in that instability, you start getting that chance for some thunderstorms. The northern panhandle, it's way too cool up there. There's not any instability. I mean, temperature is 55 in Stinnett, but if you look at the dew point, a lot of them actually they're starting to come up again. So some of those are in the mid 50s now. So we've had in between a tenth and 2/10 of an inch of rain here in Amarillo so far. So it does look like this is some pretty light stuff coming through. So it looks like with this stuff starting to really line out, I think that threat for any kind of brief spin up will go down some. Won't be zero, but it's not going to be as big of a concern for us. So we got to keep maybe an eye on some of this stuff out here in New Mexico too. We may actually get another round of shower activity later tonight. You can see it's definitely very isolated, so we'll see. But for now, the big area of convection is over here in the east southeast panhandle. This is again where we kind of expected some of the more meaningful numbers of rainfall to be. It was really good to see a half inch to about 3/4 of an inch of rain out in the west panhandle too. So glad that you guys had that much. But it does look like a lot of this heavier stuff is going to be coming through the east panhandle from now on. All right, sorry about that, guys. They were recording some stuff in the studio. Still tracking a couple of severe storms across the southeast panhandle. These are mainly posing a wind threat up to 60 miles per hour. We've seen a couple of reports of some small hail in Canyon today. They had some pea to nickel sized hail out there. It looked like it snowed with as much hail that fell in some of those places, but it was all below severe limits. So just going to watch this stuff push through. Again, it'll probably clear out of the panhandle by 6, 7 o'clock tonight. And after that, we'll just be kind of monitoring some of that additional shower activity that comes out of New Mexico. This is the big stuff, though. This will be the main story of the stronger thunderstorms for today. And some of these will be isolated severe, but mostly just due to a wind threat. Again, it can't rule out maybe a quick spin up of a tornado. It's not going to be very long lived. It won't be very strong, but it did appear like there may have been a brief spin up between Canyon and Lake Tanglewood. Blake Brown sent us a video of that. Again, we'll have to kind of confirm. It's hard to make out, but it did look like there was maybe some concentrated dirt underneath an area of spin on underneath the cloud deck that was spinning. So definitely possible for today. Certainly could see a quick spin up. It would probably be a non-condensed kind of tornado if you saw something like that, though. Severe warning is going to go until 5:15 out there in Cottle and Childress County, southern portion of Hall County too. Winds up to 60 miles per hour is the main hazard with this severe warning as these storms roll from west to east down there through the rolling plains. So it looks like they just got rid of the severe warning up here. It looks like a lot of this stuff's fallen below severe limits, maybe kind of limiting our instability. But we're back down to one severe warning right now, down in Childress Hall in Cottle County. I'll go ahead and show you guys this camera over in Red River, New Mexico. This is pretty cool. And you can see that it's actually snowing out there in the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. So while we're dealing with the rain and storms here, the higher elevations are getting a little bit of some wintry weather. This is the first official snow, I think, for Red River. Roads look to be okay out there. I'll go ahead and leave the mouse off of it so you can see them. But you can see that the grass is now covered. You can see where they've actually got a little bit of some snow, some man-made snow or artificial snow, just to try and keep the park open. But it will be nice for them to get a little bit of this stuff, help put a little bit of snowpack on the ground so that some of the snowboarders and skiers out there can maybe enjoy some of the slopes. They'll probably see a couple inches of snow out of this. It's not going to be a big event for them. We do have the next system that's going to come through on Sunday, so While they may see a small amount of wintry weather today, they could see some additional snowfall through the end of the weekend too, which will be our next chance for some storminess as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at that stuff. Since we're still just kind of watching that one round of severe storms down in the southeast, we'll go ahead and run you through the forecast for now. Let's go ahead and start. Let's start a look at our radar and water vapor imagery. So there's that line of storms. We'll zoom in a bit, where we again just are seeing some of this heavier rainfall right now. This is kind of overdoing some of the precipitation rates up here north of downtown Amarillo. It's really, really light there. But you can see there's a nice convective band of storms. Good squall line. That started to set up there in the southeast off of the Cap Rock where there's some better moisture. The dew points are in the 60s there. They're only in the 50s here on top of the Cap Rock. But still looks like this low is somewhat closed. It's probably not as strong as models made it out to be a couple of days ago. It may actually be opening up, it looks like. So it's not completely circulating around this entire thing. So we probably have kind of an open wave trough at this point coming across. You can see there's a lot of storminess down there in the hill country in central Texas. I mean, all the way down I-35. It's about to get hit with some pretty strong storms. They've got a lot of flood concerns down there in the hill country. It looks like there was a flash flood emergency down there at one point in time. They're in Menard County. That was allowed to expire, but they still have some flash flood warnings down there. So that's the first system. You can see the second system here off the coast of California, or at least moving onshore right now. This is going to be that next closed upper level low that's going to be bringing in that next chance of precipitation. This may actually be stealing a little bit of some juice from this first one. This was a closed low at one point. It probably still is, but it's not very strong. It's starting to weaken considerably as it starts to, again, these two things are competing for some energy in the atmosphere. And this one definitely appears to be the stronger of the two systems. You can see that jet really ripping underneath this thing and starting to produce some precipitation down there in Southern California. Some of the Sierra Nevadas getting some snowfall. And you can see some of that snow starting to set in on the mountains there where Red River's at. And so that's why they're getting a little bit of some snowfall right now. Here's our Skycam in Bushland. Looks like I-40 is traveling okay. It's definitely had some rain out there. So glad you guys got a little bit of some precipitation. Looking from a local standpoint, just a big old arc of storms coming across the southeast. These are very narrow bands of rain. Do not expect them to produce heavy rain for more than, say, 5 to 15 minutes. But you could pick up a half inch fairly quickly out of some of these. We had an 8/100 of an inch of rain out at the airport so far. Looks like Canyon, you guys have picked up a fair bit of rainfall recently, around 4/10 of an inch down there. Actually had a couple of reports of some small hail down in Canyon when the storms rolled through. It was really small, sub-severe, but not quarter, but penny to pea-size hail was falling there in Canyon. It actually looked like there was some snow on the ground if you weren't looking very closely. But nice, good swath of rain starting to fill in down here. Had a really good batch of rain in the western Panhandle this morning, so that's where you've got 1/10 to a half inch of rain out there. Let's go ahead and take a look at the outlook for today. We have a marginal risk in the southeast, which is just a level 1 out of 5 on the threat index. So it's not a huge concern, but obviously we've had those 2 severe warnings for today, just the one now in the southeast. And as we move into tonight, you can see we've got again, maybe another little burst of rain possible. This could be the last round, though, that we're dealing with right now for some of us. That next round is going to be very, very isolated. And so it's going to miss some people. But a chilly start to your Friday morning. You can see some temperatures around freezing there on the Cap Rock in the southwest. A lot of clouds keeping us in the 40s up there in the north. But notice as we go throughout the day, watch what happens. So this cold front and this deck of clouds really doesn't go away. That's going to keep things very cold on Friday up in the Oklahoma Panhandle. It will feel like December tomorrow afternoon out there. We'll see if we can get up into the 50s and 60s here in Amarillo. That may be something that's a bit in question. And then moving into Saturday morning, a lot of low clouds, probably some patchy fog, and maybe even some freezing fog on tap for Saturday in the AM hours. These temperatures, again, are getting really close to the freezing point. I mean, Clovis at 32, Dalhart at 32, 33 in Boise City. There may be some spots out there where that freezing fog, kind of accumulates to a trace amount there on the windshields and the elevated surfaces. So if you're going to be driving early Saturday morning, you may want to, get out 5, 8 minutes early just to defrost the windows before you head out the door. And then we end up warming up into the 50s in the afternoon. But you can start seeing the effects of that next storm system out here in New Mexico, starting to see some of that rain and snow develop in the higher elevations, which again is the next weather maker. This is going to be a stronger system, it looks like. There's not another low trying to steal some of its thunder. And so what we're seeing down in the southeast, where that line of storms is starting to fill in, will probably happen further to the west on Sunday. And that'll help us fill in some better rain amounts across a larger portion of the area. And then after this low comes through, there's a big trough starting to build up, and this is going to produce a nice shot of cold air as we get closer to Thanksgiving, which you'll see on the 7-day tracker. So here's your chance for a half inch of rain on Sunday. The probability is not quite as high here in Amarillo as it was with the system today, but I do think that we may have a fairly good chance to pick up a 1/4 inch of rain on top of what we've already had. So some of us picking up anywhere from 1/3 to an inch of rain, 1/3 of an inch to an inch of rain over a 4-day stretch really isn't that bad. You can see kind of where that dry slot sets in with that second system. Maybe just a lot of those 1/4 inch totals down around Highway 60 and south of there, which I guess would be okay because they did have some rain out here with this stuff that just came through. But maybe a lot more of those half-inch totals up here in Union County. There's a few outlier models that suggest that there could be snow up there in Raton Pass on Sunday. So we'll see if maybe the Sierra Grande Peak, top of Capulan Volcano, could maybe see a little bit of some brief snow. It doesn't look like it's going to be as far south or as far low in elevation as Des Moines, but maybe Union County, something to keep an eye on if you're in the northwest corner of the county. And then again, just colder weather heading into the end of the month and into December. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but if you've again just joined us, this is something that we talked about probably an hour ago. Just some colder air building up as we move into the beginning of December. I'm going to pull over some ensembles and just show you some precipitation. So what this is a European ensemble. This is just tweaking the model a little bit, each variable just by a smidge, and running it 50 times. And you just get 50 different scenarios. And this gives you a much better average of maybe what's expected. So you can see again, going to see the rain today. Numbers kind of fell off a bit from what we had yesterday, but 1/10 to 3/10 of an inch of precipitation for Amarillo really expected through the rest of today, which again, kind of what we just saw, and on top of maybe what we see additionally overnight tonight into tomorrow morning. And then we've got that next system coming through on Sunday. Not a 100% consensus that we get rainfall out of it, and certainly doesn't look like it'll be a big rain event, but maybe another couple tenths of an inch possible. Seems to be the general trend and theme for that stuff for right now. So Thanksgiving is right in here. It's a very dry portion of the ensemble run. So I would not be too concerned about winter weather in terms of maybe holiday travel and things like that. As we get into this weekend or the following weekend, we're getting closer to this other signal of some additional precipitation that we could be dealing with. And this is the same window where we could be below average for our temperatures. And if we jump over to look at our snowfall, not all of the members are suggesting snow, but some of them are. And it doesn't mean that we will see winter weather, but we are starting to maybe see some of these low end pops for maybe that first chance for some winter precipitation as we move into the first week of December. The exact amounts vary greatly. I mean, you can see a couple of these ensemble runs showing a absolute bonker amount of snow, but these are outliers. Again, this is like an unlikely scenario to unfold. But if we do get maybe some snow, I mean, enough to maybe cause some minor issues, can't rule that stuff out. And then let's go ahead and take a look at the American ensemble. First system today, second closed low on Sunday. That one, every single ensemble run shows us at least getting 1/10 of an inch of precipitation. So the American model says, yeah, we should get some rain on Sunday. The European says probably, but won't guarantee it. Thanksgiving Day, right in here, pretty dry. Maybe some low clouds behind that front, maybe some really light spitting rain Aside from that, probably dry. And then as we get into the first couple of days of December, there's that mixed signal that we're looking at again. And yes, there is maybe some winter weather associated with it also. And then the Canadian showing you some of that precipitation. Good consensus for today, good consensus for Sunday, not a very good consensus moving into the first few days of December. Some of the stuff's pretty early over the weekend. Some of it's like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But this is all probably that same system. It's just a matter of a model doesn't know exactly how it's going to evolve, how it digs into the central U.S. Do we get precipitation or not? There's some dry model runs in here. There's some that are saying, just 1/100th of an inch of rain or snow is possible. Some of them saying, yeah, it could be a more impactful amount. So there's a lot of disparity in the models. And this one, I guess that was in the middle, was showing this is just a colder rain. I mean, it had 1.4 for some precipitation, no snowfall. So kind of a warmer scenario playing out with that ensemble run. But then you go down here, I mean, this is an outlier as well, showing maybe a more impactful event if it is cold enough. So as far as chance of snow goes, early in December, to see something measurable would probably be floating around that 20 to 30% chance. Seeing maybe something impactful, very low for right now, around probably 10%. Let's jump back over to radar. We're going to end this live real quick because we're about to do our 5 o'clock. So we're going to let you guys get back to the rest of your day. But you do see this squall line of storms moving through. A lot of them are below severe limits. So aside from maybe some small hail, some brief downpours, cloudy ground lightning, these shouldn't cause much of an issue for you. We do have that severe thunderstorm warning that's going to go into effect and run until 5:15 though down there in Childress and Cottle County with this line of storms racing that way. Interesting. Maybe FDR's down. Yeah, it looks like FDR's not working. So I was going to use that radar because these storms are getting close there to southwest Oklahoma, but we'll just use Lubbock and Amarillo for now. But good line of storms moving through Clarendon and Memphis and up to the north and east. This will be producing some heavier rain rates just for a short period of time. Maybe starting to see some more moderate rain on the north side of town right now as this starts to move through. But we're about done with the rain here in Amarillo until maybe some stuff comes out of New Mexico later tonight. But we've definitely got a lull in activity coming behind this stuff. We'll watch some of this down here, but I think we'll be okay once this first round comes through. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. Enjoy the rest of your day today. And don't forget to hit that like button. We might jump back on later tonight if this next line starts to flare up again. But for now, I think this may be our last live.